What's up, everybody, and welcome here to Superpowered Pop. Happy to be here with you, Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora, coming to you every single month inside of the Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne studios. Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne is the proud comic book and gaming store that we so proudly work with as our exclusive studio partner of Superpowered Pop. You can find Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne, or for short, PBKW, by going to 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, which is right a few minutes away from Charlotte, a little over 20 minutes from Charlotte, North Carolina. So make sure you head out there today. We are here today to speak on Aquaman 2, aka, my puppy's going to come in here, Aquaman 2, aka Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So I'm fresh off of seeing the movie, saw it with my nephew Carter, shout out to Carter, and I wanted to bring you my thoughts. Now, I love doing this because, number one, I love going to the movies. I love my job. I love that, growing up as a kid, reading comic books and staying connected to this world. Now it's part of my job to talk about the movies that I've been seeing and would see at any part in my life. I'm a big kid. I know a lot of you are. And I love being here to be able to tell these stories on Superpowered Pop. If you haven't yet, on Facebook, X, and Instagram, go ahead and like us, follow us at Superpowered Pop, and make sure you do the same for Parker Banner, Kent, and Wayne. You can look them up as PBKW, and that'll show you them on Instagram as well as on X, the former Twitter. Here on Facebook, it's you can do at PBKW, or just search Parker Banner, Kent, and Wayne, and you'll find them there as well. So make sure that you give them a follow, and I appreciate everybody that has. Like I said, we're here tonight to speak on this Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom movie. There are going to be spoilers. I do want you to know that. So there are going to be spoilers in this. So if you have not seen the movie and you intend to see the movie, please take this video, save it for a later date, and don't watch right now if you plan on going to see the movie. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. So I'm going to count it down. I always do. So once I finish the countdown, I am going to bring you this movie review with spoilers and all. So if you stay after the countdown, it's on you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's time to talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So let's hop right into it. Well, first and foremost, folks, this movie, as soon as it ended, I sat there in my chair and I thought to my first thought to myself was this was so much better than I thought it was going to be. The movie honestly was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, a lot more than I anticipated it to be. So I want to start there. This movie exceeded my expectations. I thought, going into it, I was thinking, okay, DC's made a lot of movies that have been, not that great. There's no continuity. There's like 1,800 Jokers right now. And my favorite one is Joaquin Phoenix at the moment. And rest in peace, Heath Ledger. I loved his Joker too. But I'm sitting out here like, okay, there's all these Jokers. I mean, really, the only thing that's the same is Harley Quinn, right? We know it's Margot Robbie. But pretty much everything else has been very confusing. You watch a DC TV show, an animated show, it's different from the live-action TV shows, which are different from the movies. We got a Flash on TV, we got a Flash in the movies. All this stuff's going on. It hasn't been fun. So, I go to see Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and my thoughts to myself are, okay, well, this movie was made before, James Gunn and company are taking over DC. And so to me, seeing this, I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is going to be a unique experience, but, Peter Safran and James Gunn taking over DC, there's going to be a whole new movement now. This is going to be theirs. We're, starting from the beginning. So, a movie like The Flash or a movie like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, is it even going to be involved? So I was kind of like, do I want to see it? Do I want to see it knowing that it may have no place and no continuity in the new DCU, the new DC universe? And I ultimately decided, yeah, I want to see it. Anybody that knows me knows I'll go see, all the comic book movies. And so I went to go see this movie. And I got to be honest, I saw it today. So it came out on December 22nd. I celebrated the Christmas season, celebrated the Christmas holiday. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Happy day of Jesus' birth. And I brought my nephew today, the day after Christmas, to go see the movie. And I got to be honest with you, like I said, it exceeded my expectations. We're going to get into a lot of different pieces of it. Jason Momoa, and again, I'm going to talk about spoilers. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, you've been warned many times already, and I'm going to talk about them. So Jason Momoa at the end has a Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. moment where, he says, I'm the king of Atlantis. And then you think, like, okay, what is he going to say next? Like, is he done? Because he was like, we're going to do this together. We're going to do that together. We're going to help each other from, Atlantis. We're going to help the land. And, we are the sea. I've lived in both worlds. I care about both worlds. I am the king of Atlantis. And then he leans in during the press conference. He leans in and he goes, I'm Aquaman. And then he's like, yeah! And he just like screams out and has a good time with it. And I loved it. He had that kind of like, I'm Aquaman, right? Like, I'm Iron Man type of thing. And I thought that was really cool that he called himself Aquaman. He made a decision on that name. And the thing that I thought was really interesting and kind of bittersweet is the last words that Jason Momoa says in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is, I'm Aquaman. And the question as we move forward in the new DCU is, will he be Aquaman? So, will Jason Momoa continue as Aquaman? And that's the big question. So we look at this and we, like I said, at the end with him saying, I'm Aquaman, that's exciting. But if there's not going to be another Aquaman movie right now, the question is, will we see Jason Momoa when Aquaman eventually shows up again? Because I would imagine that at some point we're going to get a Justice League movie. Will we see Aquaman as Jason Momoa? Will we see, him return as Arthur Curry? But I got to give it up to Jason Momoa. I saw the first Aquaman. I didn't think it was that great. It looked kind of cheesy. The CGI didn't look as wonderful. And we looked at this underwater world, which was something we were diving into really for the first time in this way. And the first Aquaman was not as believable to me. It looked kind of cheesy. It looked really fake. And then I went and saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and we saw Talokan, the home of Namor, and, and their race, right? And the race of these underwater beings, I thought it looked beautiful. I thought the music was great in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I thought seeing Talokan was really wonderful. In Aquaman 2, they erased any of my, thoughts of Aquaman 1. Aquaman 2 was done very well. It was aesthetically pleasing. It looked realistic. As colorful as the characters were and as many things were going on and as much time as we spent underwater, it looked more believable. So that's one of the things I want to touch on, is that this movie really did look believable. Atlantis looked genuine. Being under the water looked really, really cool. It didn't look like cheesy CGI. It was very nicely done. And so I want to hit with that first and say that the creators of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom did a tremendous job of making the movie look very realistic, as opposed to the first Aquaman that I thought looked more fake and more CGI and more, Amber Heard and Jason Momoa in front of a green screen, essentially. And that's not how I felt in this one. The other thing I want to bring up is, my question with everything going on is that Amber Heard is Mira. She's the love interest of Jason Momoa, right? Mira to Arthur and the queen that is with him, right? If he is the king of Atlantis, she is the queen of Atlantis. And with everything that went on with her legal battle with Johnny Depp and everything that ensued from there and things that had happened, the question was, were we going to see Amber Heard in this movie? We didn't really see her in the trailer. It was a very quick kind of her punching what looked to be, and this actually does show up in the movie, but for a ship, one of those circular windows and her punching the window showing her strength. We actually do see her in this movie, and we see her a lot. And, for everything that went on in real life and for, my thoughts as someone who has been in relationships with women that were verbally and or physically abusive, I do not appreciate anything that I heard off of the screen about the Amber Heard situation. But on the screen, I will say that having her there, I wasn't like thinking boycott. I'm not in the cancel culture movement. I think people that are in that movement are people that are very unhappy with their own lives. So they seek to destroy other people's, because anyone who's working hard and chasing their dreams is not going to spend time ruining somebody else's life. Because if you're chasing your dreams, you would know, as I know, that that's an everyday thing, an every hour thing, and you don't have time to be evil when you're trying to do good. You got to choose. It's one or the other. They say if there's one drop of hate in your heart, it's like dye, right? If you drop one, if you drop dye, if you take like food coloring, right, and you just put one drop into the water and you walk away, the water will turn into whatever color you dropped in it. If you drop one red just drip of food coloring, you'll come back and the water will have turned red, right? And so, I don't think that you can have hate and love inside of your heart. I don't have that. And so with Amber Heard, I didn't go into this, cancel culture type of frenzy. I don't like the things that I heard off the air. We will never know the true and complete story of her relationship and Johnny Depp's relationship. And it's unfortunate of what came to pass. And I hope that Johnny will heal, and I hope that Amber will heal, and I hope that everybody involved will heal, because verbal and physical abuse in any relationship, as I know, is a very demonic and hateful thing to do to someone, and nothing good comes from it in the act of doing it. I mean, there is good that comes from realizing your worth and getting out of it, and it makes you a stronger person and it thickens your skin. But there's nothing good to say about abuse. And so I want to just say that first and foremost with Amber Heard. Seeing her in this movie, though, I like the fact that they actually had her in the movie. I mean, they could have recast her, but ultimately, you want to make this movie believable. And I think her being in it, not just showing Jason Momoa as a single parent. They decided to keep her in the movie. That's his wife. That's his queen. He's a husband. That's his love interest. She plays a big role in saving his life on multiple fronts. She shows up for him in many different ways. And I actually think she acted better in this movie than she did in Aquaman. So I do want to say Amber Heard is very much in the movie. She's very much the love interest. She's not written out. Maybe she had some more scenes. Maybe she spoke more. Because if you watch the beginning of this movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the first few times you see her, she really doesn't say anything. So then I was kind of thinking in my head, okay, I've seen her, 3 times on screen, and she hasn't really uttered that much of anything, if even a word. So did they keep her in it and take out her speaking portions, essentially? But, I mean, it would have taken away from the movie. It would have taken away from the story. So the fact that this movie was made, and things were going on, obviously, off screen, the fact that this was done, and I don't think that it hurt the movie by having her in it. I don't know what her future will hold. I am not one to condemn anybody, because my name Daniel means God is my judge, and I take that very literally, as I have no right to judge anyone. That's God's job. So being on the other side of an abusive relationship with a woman, I am not happy to hear the things that happened with her and Johnny Depp, but I do pray for her healing as well as Johnny's healing, and like I said, everybody involved. But she is very much in the movie. Mira is still the love interest. They did not change that from the comics. And honestly, for everything that some comic book movie makers have changed, so drastically, in its own way, it was nice to see that this movie stayed true to their relationship. So, I thought that was good. It's also really important here to see with Yahya Abdul Mateen II, who plays Black Manta, who was the villain in the first movie and the villain in the second movie. But I went into this movie saying to myself, he can't just be the villain. There's going to have to be somebody else that's the villain, or else, people's number one critique is going to be, why did I see the same movie twice, right? Here's Aquaman fighting Black Manta again. And he definitely is, but there's this power that comes from the Black Trident and from this lost kingdom. And I thought that was done well too, because there's been a lot of movies that have, the kingdom of the damned, the kingdom of the dead, this race of just skeleton walkers and really demonic looking creatures, and a version of hell, so to speak, in a way. And many movies have tried to do it, and it looks cheesy, it looks stupid, it looks overdone. I actually didn't mind this, and I thought it was cool. It was kind of like finding a mummy's tomb type of thing. So I thought, like I said, going into this, I'm like, Black Manta can't be the only villain. He wasn't. There is another villain in this movie, and it was good to see that. I mean, seeing Nicole Kidman as Atlana, in this, she was wonderful as always. I thought she did a great job. Martin Short voiced Kingfish, and I thought he was really cool. I didn't pick up on it. I love Martin Short, but I got so like enthralled with the movie, and I thought that it was really aesthetically pleasing that I didn't even hear the voice. And I'm a big Martin Short fan, but there's a part where Kingfish, is like, I have no arms, I have no legs, and I think if I go back and I listen to it, I could see it. But the cool thing about this movie is, I think everybody really acted well. Dolph Lundgren is in this movie too, as King Nereus, and I thought he did an incredible job. Dolph Lundgren, the former Punisher. So, I thought he did well. King Orm, Patrick Wilson, his story of being the brother that's been, now he's been imprisoned and he's been taken out of this because he wants to wage war with the land, right? So he wants land versus sea. He wants, to wage war against those above. And so he's been put in this jail, and he's released by his brother. And at one point, and I think people came up, heard it because they kind of murmured during the movie, is he calls his brother Loki. And I thought that was really interesting. That's been really cool to see. I want to say it was unique to see it, that he called his brother Loki, because the DC universe is essentially making note of the Marvel universe, saying, okay, there is a Loki, right? So in this DCU or version of it that Aquaman is in with Jason Momoa, he says that, he calls his brother Loki. And so he's making known that, I know all about Thor and about Loki. It's also Norse mythology. So the fact that, is this the Thor and the Loki that we know? Is this Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth? Maybe it's just Norse mythology. But he does call his brother Loki, and Loki, as we know, is the trickster, right? The brother that can't be trusted, that Thor can't help but love and want to give opportunities to, and think that someday he's going to warm that cold heart of Loki's, but that Loki will always betray him. So I thought it was interesting that he said Loki. He said it in the forest. He says it in passing, but I heard it, and enough people heard it to kind of have a reaction in the movie theater. But as far as the story of the movie, I thought the story carried really well. Black Manta is avenging his father's death. He's been defeated by Aquaman, and all he wants to do is take everything from Aquaman, everything that he loves, destroy his kingdom, destroy his family, kill it all, burn it to the ground, right? And then he wants to wage war between land and sea. So he kind of takes over King Orm's original plan in the first movie, right? He takes over the reins of that, and he wants the planet to essentially eat itself, right? For the land to fight the sea to fight the land. He does this through emitting these greenhouse gases through the trident and all the power that is utilized to that they go these essential batteries that they find. He's trying to pollute and heat up the planet and kill the planet. My question to Black Manta is, where was he going to go? If you seek to destroy Atlantis and you seek to destroy the world of the land, and you seek to heat up the earth and throw it into calamity, do you plan on going to space? Did he just, want to kill everybody and then he would die happy? So I found that to be kind of a bad plan, but, what villain has the best plan out there? Typically, villains' plans are to annihilate. It's for anarchy, it's for death, it's for pain to be caused, and all they kind of see is their own vengeance. And in this one, Black Manta is no different. I think the power was really cool. I think the kind of, him talking to himself in the mirror, I kind of see the Green Goblin and Norman Osborn. You see that kind of evil part of, scary movies of like the possession that this thing is within him and he's within it. I also kind of saw like Megatron in its own way, that he's been kind of taken over by this mindset. He's been reprogrammed, so to speak. So I thought they did a good job with that. I felt like this movie was a good standalone movie. Like, if it was connected to nothing in the DC universe, I don't really care. And there was nothing in the movie that really, connected us back. There was no like, hey, Superman, blah, blah, blah. Or when I fought with Batman and the crew, when he says he's going to call in somebody for help and you're not going to like it. It's not Wonder Woman. It's not Batman. It's not Green Lantern. It's not Superman. It's not the Flash. He calls his brother. So, I thought this movie was good standalone. I think James Wan did a really good job. He did the first one. The second one was just so much better to me, the way that it looked. The story was seamless. I didn't think it was boring. I didn't think it was tiring. I didn't think we spent too much time in one area. I didn't think we had meaningless conversations in the water and just kind of hanging out in the water for no reason. So I would say the length of the movie, the story in the movie, the look of the movie, the acting in the movie, I think everything got better with round two. And typically, that's not always the case. Usually the first movie is the best. The second one is not as good as the first one. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's not as good. Sometimes it's right kind of there. And then like the third one typically was the one where you fall off the cliff. That didn't happen with Spider-Man No Way Home, and it hasn't happened in every case. But for Aquaman 2, I really thought that it was a good movie. And I thought the story was good. I love that his family didn't die. Like I told you, there's going to be spoilers in here. There was a chance his father could have died. There was a chance Mira could have died. There was a chance his son was going to die. Although I would like to think that we're not killing babies on screen. I've never seen it happen. Alien vs. Predator Requiem showed an empty nursery where babies were killed, and they didn't show the babies being killed, and they also had a woman birthing 3 predator-alien hybrids, which means that they killed the baby in the womb, which still to this day makes me want to throw up, but I never saw it. So I didn't think they were going to kill his son on screen, and I didn't think they were going to kill his son in general. They were going to kill Junior, Arthur Curry Jr., but he was supposed to be made as a sacrifice. I did think the big bad of the movie that was trying to get released this whole time, who was connected to Black Manta through the Black Trident and all this power and whatnot, I do think that he was a little bit more easily defeated, kind of like a Disney defeat, if you will. With all these new Marvel movies, Disney makes it way too easy for the good guys to win, which is shocking because the good guys lost in a big way against Thanos, and now it's like they're afraid to kill anybody and have anybody lose, yet, one of the highest grossing, duo of films of all time. I mean, some of the most incredible cinema was when Thanos won, and then Thanos trying to win again. So, and then having to lose even when the Avengers found out a way to fix what Thanos broke, they still had to lose. So I thought that was deep. I think buying into the emotion, I think during this movie you get to feel more of the emotion of Amber Heard, of Mira. You get to feel Jason Momoa's emotion the whole time. He is cheesy, he is goofy. He also knows, I mean, listen, he's an entertainer, he's a former wrestler, and I think he knows how to kind of, play the goofy game. So I think some of that comes through, and it's kind of like, I mean, he's that king that doesn't really want to be a king. He just doesn't want, and he says it in the movies, like he became king because he didn't want Atlantis to attack the surface world. He wanted to make sure that there was not war versus land and sea, and that's why he became king. He didn't become king because he wanted the power. He didn't become king because he wanted the meetings. He didn't become king because he wanted the crown or he wanted the notoriety. He became king in order to keep peace. And I applaud him for that. So, I mean, he's serious, but he's also himself. And that's kind of, who he is. That's Jason Momoa. And this is a different take on, the Aquaman that we saw in the comic books, right? Caucasian male, blonde hair. So it's a different take. Jason Momoa, knowing his wrestling background and kind of his personality, he's kind of that. I don't want to say reckless king. He's not a reckless king, but he's a king that would rather be out there fighting. He would rather show you than tell you. And he's going to do what he feels is right, even if you think he's wrong. And I applauded that. So, I just think that, I don't know. I mean, there were moments, like I said, that were cheesy and more, WrestleMania type of feel, but it wasn't much, and I can't blame Jason Momoa. I mean, he is who he is, right? And he has fun. I mean, like when he says, "I'm Aquaman," he doesn't say it like how Tony says it. He says it like he's a little kid, and I really like that. There were some other parts where you could have looked at it and said, like, is this good acting? But like I said, I think the acting was better in this movie. I think they reeled it in. I don't know if they had less time together last time. I don't know how the script was, but the acting just kind of didn't seem timed right. It didn't seem like anything was going right in the first movie when it came to the acting and the dialogue and just the overall communication of the movie to us watching it. In this movie, it seemed like you knew, like, these are the relationships, this is who we have, this is our family, and I think Black Manta was an even better villain in this movie. He was obviously more powerful, very rageful, and he is the Scar in this movie. He does not, at the end of it all, give up his revenge or his want to kill Aquaman and everything that matters to Aquaman. So, that doesn't go away. So there is that Scar feel in the movie. There's that Mummy feel in the movie. But, I would say if they wanted Jason Momoa to continue on as Aquaman in the new DCU under James Gunn and Peter Safran, I honestly would be okay with it. And it's because of this movie. This movie changed my opinion of the Aquaman series because it really just didn't look good. It didn't sound good to me in the first movie at all. It just kind of was there. And seeing this one, now, do I think they could have killed the mom or killed the father and could have had more weight? They could have easily killed off Amber Heard because of everything that was going on off screen. I thought that was maybe a bigger possibility, that she was going to die, and then, they could essentially take her out of the movie because of things that were going on off the movie, but they didn't do that. I mean, everybody's alive. His son's alive. The continuation of the heir to the throne is there. His brother is out somewhere, and we're wondering, is the brother going to do good now? And there was a time in this movie where his brother almost did the Loki thing and flipped around the other way. So there's a lot to be said about kind of the different elements of the family makeup, but I was a little surprised that they didn't kill anybody when it came down to it. We don't even see Black Manta die. If you've learned anything like I've learned from watching comic book movies and watching soap operas when I came home from school as a kid, because my mom would always watch General Hospital, is that if you don't see someone die, there's a good chance that they didn't. And even if you did see them die, there's still a chance that they didn't. So Black Manta is alive somewhere in the abyss, in my opinion. And I thought the characters, I think the giant crab was cool. I thought the fish that was played by Martin Short, that Martin Short voiced, that fish that kind of made you think of Jabba the Hutt. How you met him, he's like laying down and he has these female fish around him. And by the way, going into a part of the ocean that is supposed to be for humans and Atlanteans who just kind of wanted to get away from everything, and it's this part of the ocean where they do bad thing. Well, where the laws kind of blurred. It's like the Vegas of the ocean, and they kind of leave them alone. It makes you think of Nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy, and seeing the fish when you're coming in, that there's like a band and this like female fish is singing. It was a lot better than seeing the singing planet in the Marvels. I will say that. It also kind of made me think of the movie Shark Tale. So, because she kind of looked like that a little bit. But, I would tell you to go see the movie. I would tell you that the writing was good. I would tell you that it flows. I would tell you that Black Manta's story doesn't seem overdone. The story itself doesn't seem strange. It really plays into Atlantis more. It plays into protecting both parts of the world, land and sea. It plays into how powerful Atlantis is. It gives them a Wakanda moment when they decide to show themselves to the world. Because, if you think about Wakanda's whole thing is we're not going to show ourselves, right? We're, through war, through famine, through all this stuff that happens in the world, no matter what, as hard as it is for us to watch, we're not going to get involved. We're going to stay behind this veil of secrecy, and nobody's going to know that we're here. And then they decide to show themselves, right? And when you look at Talokan in King Namor, his whole thing is don't ever tell anybody about us. Don't ever tell anyone that we exist, because if you do that, then I'll attack you. So in this movie, it kind of plays to that, because there's this council in Atlantis that doesn't want to be known. And then here's, Aquaman saying, we need to help them. We live on this planet. If we're going to fix what Black Manta broke, and we're going to get the atmosphere good again, and we're going to make the Earth, more livable, and we're going to prevent everything that's going on with global warming, we have to do this together. So it did definitely have elements of other movies, and it had connections back to some of those Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And at the same time, I think it's one of the best movies DC's made in a long time. The Flash, to me, was awful. And I'm not here to pick on any of the actors or the writers or the director. I just thought the movie was really bad. And, I mean, you start the movie off by putting a baby in a microwave. You're really not going to, I can't unsee that. And even if I wanted to watch the movie again, which I watched some of it, recently I watched some of it on the plane, I fast forwarded through that part because I don't want to watch it. I think it's ridiculous. So I think that's one of the things on the cutting room floor where somebody told you in making the movie, you might think this is funny, but it's really ridiculous and it's not going to trend well, and we need to not put it in here. Most people aren't going to want to see babies flying through the air and you putting them in a microwave and having the microwave ding that's like you're heating a baby. So probably not a good idea. But yeah, I would say this movie overall, the acting was better, the story was better, the direction was better, it was more clear. Black Manta coming back didn't seem like it was the same movie twice. I liked the Hidden Kingdom. I liked the fact that, there's this kingdom waiting to get thawed out, essentially, and that global warming was bringing back part of it, and that Black Manta was trying to bring back all of it. So, And I thought he was a good villain. I thought Yahya was good as an actor in this movie. And, ultimately, if I saw Black Manta again, I would watch it. If I saw Arthur Curry played by Jason Momoa, I would watch it again. And I do like the fact that they kind of like let Amber Heard go through the story as Mira, go through the swan song of this, and let's see where they go from here, right? The movie in this fantasy world, it worked. It was good. I thought, I mean, now Aquaman's costume stayed very true to the comics, and that was the cheesiest looking thing. It was very bright. It was very like wow, and it was kind of like a bit much, but it's kind of like the Wolverine yellow and blue and black suit that we're gonna see in the new Deadpool movie, Deadpool 3. But I would tell you to go see this movie. I would tell you it's better than you probably think it's going to be. I would tell you that the DC didn't screw up this one. There was a lot of movies put in place before James Gunn and Peter Safran came to take over what is now called the DCU and not the DCEU, which is hard to say and very confusing. But the DCU, before that has come to fruition, having this Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom storyline, to me was a good one. And I think I may actually go see this movie again. And ultimately, there were moments where it put me to that place, where you kind of want to clench your fists, right? And you want to get ready for what's coming next. So I think it's definitely worth seeing. I think it's a good movie. It definitely, like I said, has some odes back to things that you've seen in Marvel movies. But ultimately, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was not a nothing movie. It wasn't a movie that is not supposed to be. To me, it's not a movie that was just a throwaway, in my opinion. So I'm pleasantly surprised that this movie was better than I thought it was going to be. And I'm trying to hold out some hope here that the Joker, the second one, will be good. Folie à Deux will be good with Harley Quinn, played by Lady Gaga, and Joaquin Phoenix returning as a Joker. Making it a musical kind of makes me iffy. Not that I don't like musicals. I just don't know if I'm going to like the Joker as a musical. But I thought that the first Joker with Joaquin Phoenix was tremendous. I thought that it really told a deeper story about mental illness and about abuse and how, is Arthur Fleck the Joker, or could anybody be the Joker if they were put in his circumstances and they didn't have faith or a God or anybody to keep. If they didn't believe in God and they didn't have a strong faith and they didn't have people they could trust, if they didn't have a sound foundation, could anybody become the Joker? And I thought that that was a really tremendous story to tell within the story. So I'm excited to see what the Joker 2 is going to look like, but I'm also cautious about it. Now, these movies are like Elseworlds, right? Because we're seeing the new DCU. The first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. That first piece has not come out yet. So The Flash is in this Elseworld type of thing, which is fine because that movie was just bad on so many fronts. But Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, this is in the Elseworlds. So maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. But ultimately, I think this movie showed up. I think you should show up to go see it. And I'm happy that I got to talk about it with you. This is Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora. You can find us on all social media, on X as well as Facebook and Instagram at Superpowered Pop. It's right here on my t-shirt, Superpowered. So make sure you see that Powered ED Pop. So make sure you check it out. And of course, when you're in the Charlotte area, the Cornelius, North Carolina area, go and see my friends at Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne Comics and Games, for short PBKW. You can see Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina. For now, I'm Dan Tortora, and this has been your spoiler review of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Folks, go see the movie. It's better than I thought it would be. Things make sense, and with everything going on outside of the movie with Amber Heard and the changes to DC and what's everything going to look like, I thought that this movie is the best movie that they've done in a long time of the current storyline. And I exclude Blue Beetle from this because Blue Beetle wasn't connected to any of the other superheroes and wasn't told in any of the other movies or TV shows up to this point. So to me, Blue Beetle is its own standalone of the characters that DC had already shown us in previous movies, such as Jason Momoa's Aquaman. This is the best one they've done in a long time. I thought Wonder Woman, the first one with Gal Gadot, was great. I thought the second one was not. I felt the opposite about Aquaman. I feel like this one is a heck of a lot better. I wish this was the first one and there was a second one coming. If Aquaman ever is Jason Momoa again, I will go see it. You should go see it. In the meantime, remember that your hero lies within, and I'll talk with you all soon. God bless.